Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is trade review time. Um, yeah, I actually think we have the 24th, the 25th, and then 26th to do. I've been kind of under the weather, so right. Let me see. Last one was so the 23rd. I've been kind of under the weather. It's made it hard to have the motivation, but I figure I can do them all at once. At least the Morning Bell plays, because those are definitely the most important and the ones that have the opportunity to be most lucrative. So this one was on the. We'll start with the 24th. So I said, right here, Baba. I like the pullback to 169.25 down to 168.85. 169.25. 168.85. Right around. That's good enough. Man, I can't remember. Oh, duh. It's not saying. There you go. I can't remember exactly where I got in on this one. Let's take a look and see. Okay. Oh, I remember. I actually got stopped out of this one. So I'll take 180C if it goes to break pre-market high, 170.23, which would have been, right here. So I actually, I do remember this one actually. So first of all, the zone is based off of these points of consolidation. You got a lot of bodies touching here on the 10, some wick down, some more respect on bodies. Anytime you can get like these clean lines across multiple bodies, you see, I really like to look for stuff like that. On the 1 hour chart, you can sometimes look for confluence as well. We were seeing outside of just that day, you could go back quite a bit. Maybe not. Damn, Baba's been sucking. In any case, it was based off those 10-minute lines. I do like to look for some kind of confirmation on the 1 hour time frame, but it looks like that zone ended up being pretty pertinent throughout the next couple of days. So anyhow, in any case, so man, I wish I would have had the stones to kind of hold through this action, or I wish I would have had the bravery to see it, not take it, wait for it to kind of get back in up here and then go. But I ended up getting stopped out down here on this play. It did end up going over a pre-market high where I got back in for about half the size I was trying to average into down here. And I ended up making up some of it back. People have been asking about my pre-market high triggers. Generally, I like to see a good push up, and I'll try to mark it in as long as the body is still up here or at the line, as it kind of gives some back right here. Depending on how you want to handle your stop, if it works against you, that can kind of suck. Another thing you can look for is like these false breakouts. You can look for your trigger to be, the high of that false breakout to confirm that it is a full breakout, just, that it pulled back a little here. I ended up taking a small scalp right here. I can't remember if I got in here or here. Either way, I knew it was like right at the pre-market high line. And I sold somewhere up here, so I think I ended up holding through some pain for a little bit there. I think my stop was going to be closer to these levels, which are on the 10, you can see. So it would have been close. But I ended up making a little bit back. This was a net loser, though, just because I was sized in a little heavier down here, and this flush hurt me quite a bit. But after that, we had AMC. AMC went wild this day. 36.75, 36.47, 36. Oh, this zone is still there. So, what day is this? Oh, yeah. This was actually a banger. So this one came down, and I was actually a little too slow. I was a little too slow in my entry here. It happened so quick. You know it's crazy when you have to adjust the chart like that because the ticker ran so wild. Yeah, but the idea and the thesis on this kind of was, you can see that it's based off, 10-minute levels yesterday, previous action. You come to the 1 hour, you see some confluence there depending on how far you go back. We had this nice trend that I had drawn right here. I kind of ignored this big sell-off day as an anomaly, and it did end up getting respected quite well. Hugged the 20 SMA super well. So a lot of good signs in that respect. But I kind of wish I would have taken that move later in the day, obviously. But basically what happened is right here at the bell, it dipped in my zone. I tried to get my fills. I didn't get filled. It started to pull up against me, and then I just raised my my buy to the ask and just took a whole position. Thankfully, it continued to go up. I scaled some out here at the 20, and I think at this kind of pull back to the 20, I think I ended up taking the rest off. I ended up making a really solid move on it, but had I taken a more calculated entry, or an entry that I was kind of expecting or comfortable with, I would have been on a lot better shape. But because I kind of had to knee-jerk reaction, hop in a little higher and slap the ask, I was already a little out of my comfort zone, just because it didn't really go to my plan and the way I would have liked to have gotten in there. So I was more quick to take some off. I was already kind of out of my element. Had I let my usual rule is anywhere from 50 to 80% you take off and you let the rest ride. Depends on how you feel about the ticker. On this push up right here over this level, that would have been good confirmation of strength. But this candle, where you would have already been up a good amount, wouldn't have existed yet. So I'm not upset that I took my gains there. I just think that there's no situation where you can't take 80% off instead of 100 and then stop out at break even, right? Because this, let's say that the contracts are $1.20 and break even is 90 cents. You're risking $60 and you still secured 240 or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's there's just not great situations where you can't leave 10% at least, you know what I mean? A single contract, whatever. So I think that in the morning things are a little bit fast paced, and I tend to, especially if I'm looking and have some expectation for some other tickers, I try to be a little bit more quick so that I can fully commit to something else without having to babysit this one. But yeah, good winner. Could have been better. Looking at the zone of 448. Oh yeah, this is SPY on the 24th. I remember this one because I ended up SPY looking for the zone of 448.37, 448.06, 448.37, 448.06. Oh wait, down here. 06. Yeah, it's kind of big. SPY, you can never tell, right? You can never tell whether or not the zone is going to be way too wide, because some days, look at this shit. This is yesterday. Some days it just has crazy range, and some days it just trades tightly. But this is kind of where I was watching it. Is that really what I said? 440, 830. Damn, yeah. Looking back at it, it looks huge. It's half the movement on the day. So anyways, they actually had a lot of opportunities. I ended up taking puts here, cashing out. Puts here, cashing out. Now on the third push up, right around this area, I was a little too hesitant. Because I was like, all right, it's still trending upwards. The 10-minute chart, look at this, right? Huge wicks down, closes up closer to the top. I was like, man, I don't want to get faked out and get stuck in something. But, especially given the fact that my zone was so large, you would have had to take one here, two here, three here. You know what I mean? It would have been a mess. So I ended up taking some small scalps, 10 cents at a time, which is totally fine with me. Totally fine with me. And it eventually did, respect the zone entirely, sell off. You could have made stupid money from up here to down here, but, that's obviously a perfect world, and I wasn't looking at it. And a lot of why I wasn't looking at it was because of this monster here. So Roblox was pretty much like the ticker of the day on the 24th. It was it went absolutely ape shit. So the move on this one was, as you can see here, 84.67 to 84.13. Take 88C for the move back up. Pre-market high break 86.13. I'll take the same contracts for the breakout scalp. So as you can see, I didn't quite get my zone fill, but as soon as it came up here to break pre-market high, I got in. I gave myself a little bit under VWAP as my risk, and it didn't even matter, man. The shit just went. It pushed up over here. I was up, I want to say, close to 70% or so, if I remember correctly. I scaled out. As it came back down to VWAP, I ended up taking the rest off. I think it was in 1 or 2 left. Obviously in a perfect world, I wish I would have held, because, I mean, damn, look at this. The 10-minute chart is dope. It's pull back, run up, pull back, run up, pull back, pull back. I mean, you just love to see it. This kind of tweezer top action is a little worrisome, though, for playing it later in the day, but these are the different levels I had charted out that I had expectation for. I figured that if it broke pre-market high, we'd see it test the high of the previous day, and some of these daily levels here, and you can see how well they were respected, which is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. Yeah, this one is a banger. And lately, these pre-market high trigger breakouts have been very, very lucrative, right? As you see more and more of those type of things working, it gives me a little bit of confidence that things are starting to heat up a little bit in that respect, which is dope. Because, the pre-market high break is kind of like when you're playing small caps for a breakout. Like, it has so much volume at the open that it just sends it soaring. So they're very, very good opportunities. And we'll get a little bit more into that as we get to today's plays. But that was it on the 24th. It ended up being, I think I went 3 for 4. I think I was red overall on BABA, even though I did get a little bit more on that breakout move. I was expecting the gap to be filled at 172, and it just couldn't quite get there, at least not, not as early as I was watching it. It did end up, I think, going right up next to that gap fill, if I'm not mistaken. But, I definitely was red on that one on the day. So, the next day. Next day we got here Fubo. This was on the 25th. So Fubo, I said I like to pull back 27.72, 27.52, 27.72, 27.52. Yeah, right here. And man, boy, did we get it right. I always look to, it's always nice if when I'm making my zones, I can have some kind of confluence with some major indicators. So like for this instance, the 200 SMA on the 2 is always nice to have at the base of my zone. These levels are based off of some of these, as well as if you go back and look at the 1 hour chart, you got some confluence. Going back quite a ways. So always love to check on the 1 hour just to see if, I'm missing something, or maybe there's a better spot. But this ended up getting filled perfectly. I mean, closed right in the zone. The lowest point it came down to was in the zone, meaning it didn't really ever come against us. And then it went to go break pre-market high, and yeah, saw a good move up. Now on this instance, when you have this wick up, I think you sell here, right? Because like the premiums are gonna move with this crazy expectation. You scale some out here, you put your stop and break even. You kind of let this action work. And I mean, these were pretty cheap premiums as well, so you could afford to have 2 in with like a stop at break even, and not be sweating it. I did end up giving us a nice run up here. You could see that the zone was respected for quite a while. I mean, you could have taken it once, twice, 3 times, potentially 4, potentially 5. I kind of stopped looking at that point, obviously, because I try to be done by 10 or 11 in the morning. Otherwise, I find that I give so much back. But yeah, that ended up being a nice one. I've noticed more and more lately that, I'm leaving zones on the charts, which is why when you see me pull some of these up, especially if we don't play them every day, I'll just leave the zones there. And throughout the day, I'll go back and look at the morning plays and see, exactly, what's respecting what levels, or if any of the morning zones are getting touched, you know, after lunch and stuff like that. SPRT was a good example of that happening today. But yep, that was Fubo. That was yesterday. Now we're moving to DKS. This was the big boy. I didn't really see anybody else calling DKS out in the Twitter sphere and stuff. But man, it was a nutso move. It ended up, if I'm not mistaken, you know, we'll pull up the option chain really quick and take a look. But so the morning bell play was, I'm liking the pullback to 127.1, 125.78, 127.1. $125.78. I'm not going to be exact because we didn't end up getting it anyways. Or 131.41, which is the pre-market high break. So once again, we had this sweet pre-market high trigger right here. This was on 135C. Let's go take a look at 135C from that day. What was this? The 25th. Oh man, it's not showing me. That sucks. See, maybe it'll give it to me now. Wow, no. Whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh no, the 25th, that's right. That's right, isn't it? The 25th? Yeah, it was, okay. So yeah, you can see that at the bell, the price dipped all the way down to less than or right around $1. Shut up to 4.90. I think I ended up getting in at like 3 on that pre-market high break. You can kind of tell on the option chain chart where it relates to the yeah, here's this big wick. I ended up getting up here somewhere on that pre-market high break. And then when I took my gains, it was closer to, yeah, it definitely wasn't in the 4s. I want to say it was in mid 3s or something like that. So it ended up being like a 70-80 cent trade, but real fast. I'm talking like maybe 20 seconds. It was nuts. And, you know, had I been brave enough to buy the dip, even though it wasn't quite to my zone, you know, obviously could have been an insane 300, 400% move or 200, 300% or whatever. You know, but it is what it is. Didn't even come close. I expected kind of a bigger flush. Going to retest this neckline of this this point here. It's at all-time highs, so it was kind of hard to identify. I should have taken into account the oh no, this is yesterday. Yes. I should have taken into account you know, maybe the 1 hour time frame or something, but as you can see, you know, it's trading way above where it normally does. So it was kind of hard to spot. The pre-market high trigger ended up working really nicely though. You actually could have taken that breakout level over here. You would have gotten faked out a little bit right there, but yeah, this ended up being a huge mover. This is one of those situations where like the premiums don't really know because the ticker is trading at some crazy price comparative to its norm. You know, the ticker doesn't really know, or the people that are trading the ticker don't really know like what's a fair price for these contracts. So you see these crazy, like I think at its base it was like $1 and then it shot up to 4.90 right up here, right? Even though it had higher peaks throughout the day, people just kind of over expect or over assume like what they think the motion is going to be, and like you can make insane money on just that move if you're fast enough. I ended up taking the breakout, so obviously I didn't get it that low. SPY ended up being a banger on this day yesterday. Yep. So SPY, I said 447.87 down to 447.67. So this is this is my point. This is a 20-cent zone compared to the day that day where I had a 30-cent zone up here, right? But doesn't it look like completely different size? I felt pretty good about this one because we had a lot of confluence with the 200 SMA on the 10. Pre-market high was reasonably attainable. Like it wasn't like crazy far away or crazy near for that matter. It was at a good spot. And yeah, you could easily end up taking a decent, oh damn it. Could easily end up taking a decent move off this level. SPY actually gave us multiple opportunities, man. I think I got in here and sold here. Or I got in here and sold up. I can't remember. I know that I was in on this play right here on this second, push down. Because I remember it sitting right here above VWAP. And I was like, come on, break out, break out. And it kind of faded. And I ended up taking gains as it came back under the 20 on the 2. And then as it came down here, I took them again. Another one where I was like, okay, now it has to make it past this level, which was its previous fake out level, right? As you can see later on, that became an impactful level as well. And when it didn't, I immediately took gains. As soon as it started to round off and stop creating highs. Especially when you see a big stick of volume like this on a big candle into major indicators. I mean, look at all the indicators that are right here. What a mess. And then you get this little baby pecker volume, and you're like, oh, God. This hammer, which is generally a bullish sign, was a total fake out. It wasn't until the the fourth play of the exact same zone, you could have taken it 4 times for gains, that it had its true breakout and eventually went. And boy, did it go. Once it went, it fucking went. I'll tell you what. And look, so this, as I just mentioned, this was the area where it, did its fake out on the break. And I figured that, I need that to break for me to continue my bullish sentiment. Otherwise, it's just another fake out if it can't get past that level. That level ended up getting respected to the T over here as well. And then throughout the day, I mean, between pre-market high and that fake out level, you could have made zones off of that. And boom, you could have gotten 2 gorgeous fills for the move up. So pretty crazy to see, in retrospect. Wish and Sophie, I said, look decent, but, not really worth your main focus. Wish ended up doing all right. Sophie did okay as well, but I don't like Sophie as much as some of the other people do. I think that it's pretty illiquid, and I think that makes it a little less desirable because sometimes you'll take like moves at the bell and you'll be stuck in them like all fucking day. So now we're on to today. Snow. I think today was just like a series of pre-market high breaks. Snow did end up coming to fill the zone, and I did take it, and I cut myself short. I think I ended up taking it for like 80 cents or 90 cents, and I was like, yes! And then it went for like $2, and I was like, oh, well, son of a bitch. Sorry, bear with me as I adjust these. So yeah, this was the first move. I know that a couple of us were in on this. I remember seeing it in the chat. As it broke through pre-market high, once again, I mark it in full position or buy the ask, whatever. Which means I usually get filled up here. So as soon as my position gets filled, I'm usually immediately down $100 or whatever, based on the spread. And, as it pushes up, that quickly flips. And you start to see, price moves on breakouts on the option chain move really, really quickly. They come down very, very quickly on breakdowns, right? That's why flushes are one of my favorite plays because it usually pushes premium spreads, one way, whether it's up or down, depending on if it's a flush or a breakout. And then it kind of comes back to correct at an equilibrium, right? So taking advantage of those spikes, can be really, really lucrative. That's why I love breakouts. I love flushes. So these pre-market high breaks can be, super, super lucrative. I think I ended up taking, let's see, Snow, I said 305 Cs, and that was this week's. So 305 Cs on the breakout. Oh, I actually charted it out. So yeah, 549. Dude, look at that. 860. I didn't get anywhere close to that. I sold like as soon as I saw 7, I was like, I'm fucking out, dude. That was huge. I ended up making a decent amount off that. Because these premiums are so expensive, I wasn't in my usual 10 contracts. I think I was in 3. So, it wasn't, it didn't make my whole month or anything like that, unfortunately, but it was still an awesome play. And, give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. Well, yeah, so I ended up, as soon as I saw 7 on the spread, I fired my market out. I don't know what I got filled at, to be honest. I was just stoked with the move. I mean, talk about breakout continuation, right? Like, this bad boy did not give you the little, oh, we're pushing past a little bit, and then we're coming back under, and we're not really sure what it's going to do. It straight said, scoop. So if you marketed in right here and got filled right here, and then marketed out immediately after and got filled up here, you know, that by itself within, well, that would take you 5-10 seconds to do. You know, obviously I don't recommend it, but in this situation, you potentially in 10 seconds could have, you know, made it really easy gains. So it's, you know, this was a banger today. And then it ended up sucking some serious ass at this point. But I actually ended up taking it again as it came down to respect the zone. Now, I know some people in the room were talking about it stopped you out. But it did come 20 cents under the zone. But this is a good instance, especially after it's done its big move. You know, its big flourish at the bell. And you see what it's, you know, it's done its big style. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. My girlfriend's trying to figure out her computer. Yeah, it came down to fill the zone. And this is after it's done this, you know, big move on the day and you're playing it a little bit more cautiously and a little more methodically. This is the perfect instance for you to do descending bids. If you're only doing, you know, one contract, because, you know, the premiums weren't cheap. They're a couple $100, which is, you know, by comparison, like some of the 60-cent contracts and stuff we take, you know, that's a big deal. So if you are going to take just one or two, then I would probably hold for like the bottom 30% of the zone just to ensure that you get a better fill, or alternatively wait for confirmation. So as it came up like this and then broke this level, you could have got in there with just your one contract and been a little bit safer. It's just hard to identify, especially when you see this pin bar style right here and then an open lower. Push down. You don't really know exactly what its base is going to be, especially as it came out of the zone. It just immediately closed back up, but the volume was big. You know, there's a lot of, you know, hard to read signals in that respect. The 5 and the 10 at the time didn't look like this because the candles hadn't closed yet. So, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to field. I ended up having bids all the way down, and so when it flushed down to this point and popped back up, I was living large. I ended up taking it right about here, I think right before the interaction at VWAP, because after this big sell-off, I was a little hesitant. And I think I ended up taking 90 cents or something like that. And I was stoked. I was in heavier than I was on the breakout. And I ended up making a decent chunk right there. I was really, really happy. And remember, this is like, 15 minutes after the bell. And I've already, done quite well. I was very stoked with the results of today. It was one of my better days of this month. Zoom was another one that did all right. So this was another pre-market high break, and dude, this one, no pun intended, but it fucking zoomed. Pre-market high break, 355. So the zone is all right here. Man, another pre-market high trigger. And just like the last one, I was actually only in 2 of these, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. I was only in on 2 of these, and it ended up being, I said 355 Cs. I think the 355 Cs were actually more expensive at the bell because, obviously it's sold off in the back half of the day. Yep. Okay, so I actually marked it. So I got in at $4 even. Holy shit, bro. It went to 1018. That's actually nuts. At the bell, you could have gotten in at 2. That's like 500%. That's nuts. Anyways, I got in at 4 and I sold it at like 5.5. So, we take those. We take those. And when you look at the chart like this, it looks kind of shit. But, I was very, very happy with what I did on that one. Low risk. I was in 2 contracts or whatever. Yeah, see, I thought it was more expensive than fucking... Dude, talk about if you played puts today, bro. If the 355s went all the way to 10 something and all the way back down, that's pretty disgusting. Yeah, look at that. Oh my god. Talking about selling calls. That was the move. Selling some calls, doing some credits. But yeah, another pre-market high break trigger. You love to see it. That's why if I believe that it's got pre-market high strength for continuation over, I include it in the option play. I say it's going to zone or pre-market high trigger. It gives you two opportunities to play it. The only way you don't make money is if it stops you out after it pushed through the zone, or it gives you like this little baby false breakout and you can't make enough on the breakthrough at the pre-market high to make it worth your while. But Zoom and Snow had no problem doing that this morning. So again, just to clarify, as soon as you see it hit this level, you fire at you can try to fire at the mid, and maybe, it's pretty unlikely you're going to get filled, but I usually fire the ask, slap the ask, which means that, don't look at your P&L, because your P&L is going to say you're down $100 because you're buying on the wrong side of the spread, essentially. But within seconds, that can completely flip around. And some of these free, commission-free brokerages, Webull, Thinkorswim, Robinhood, whatever, take their P&L lags a little bit. So the move can be up here, and if you're looking at your P&L waiting for it to say $100 or whatever, by the time you sell, it might be down to 80 because it's running a little bit slow. So I always play the chart. Don't look at your P&L, especially if you're marketing in on an option chain. But yeah, and as soon as you see pullback, you can get out, right? So if I had done that, I would have gotten. But as soon as I saw this breakout, I was like, dude, I'm fucking done. It was a fat move. I was busy watching others. I was literally in Snow at the exact same time, so could have held for bigger, but I was really stoked at what I got. SPRT here. Sorry, the skunk and the cat are going crazy. SPRT said I like the pullback to 1437, 1415 for 16C. Okay. Lily, you're not getting on the desk, dude. There's nothing up there for you. 1437, 1415. Once again, another pre-market high trigger. I ended up taking this one. I was in 10 contracts. I remember vividly. Oh, no, I didn't take this one. I actually didn't play this until it came back later. Or it bounced. No. I ended up playing it off a pre-market high. I think it was right around this range. And I ended up getting about 15 cents out of it on 10 contracts. I could have played this breakout right here, and you could have made a little bit of money, 10, 15 cents, 20 cents probably. Again, the premiums much cheaper, meaning that they move a lot less, so you size heavier, to kind of make up that disparity. You could have taken 10 contracts here for, I think that ended up being 10, 20 cents on the 17Cs. Regardless, for what the actual ticker cost. No, I said regardless. Lauren, I'm literally recording this. Shut your mouth, okay? That's very rude. You're rude. Anyways, the mood had a breakout right here. You can see that the option chain, the premiums on the ticker actually cost quite a bit for how much the ticker costs itself. It's not often you see a $15, $16, $17, $18 ticker with $600 contracts. Either way, you could have taken a nice scalp right here. At the same time, Ride had a very similar chart and like 60-cent contracts. So I ended up, prioritizing that instead, just because it was a little easier to manage, especially after I'd already done Zoom and Snow, and I was looking to take some small, consistent moves and less, heavy hits, since I had already, done pretty well at this point. SPRT ended up coming down to fill the zone right around 11. I was already done trading by then. But boy, did it never look back. It went for, if you bought at that zone and you sold it, I don't know, somewhere up here, you're well over 100%. I think it ended up going on the option chain over 167%. Which is absolutely crazy, because keep in mind made this zone in pre-market before anything had been seen for the day, and that gives you this kind of tells you the power of some of these lines that you can draw based off of previous price action. A lot of confluence on the 1 hour. Another thing that I saw, I actually got rid of it. Gorgeous trend, right? Look at this. And boom, wouldn't you know it? Perfect respect to the trend and the zone at the exact same time. Love to see it. So yeah, this was a banger for the back half of the day. I just was already done at that point. Ride actually was another fire. It's not often we see these small tickers, these small caps, put up big moves like this. I was stoked to see, some of this action. Oops. This was another pre-market high trigger. I mean, and it doesn't get easier than this. This one actually gave you opportunities. It pre-market high, breakout, you close, you scoop it back up. I know somebody, I think Han or somebody in Discord ended up scooping it back up and just absolutely killing it. I think it was over 200% at this point from this pre-market high trigger. I ended up getting in right here at the pre-market high break. I remember vividly, 10 cents or 10 contracts at 60 cents. And as soon as it came up here to 70, I scaled some out. I scaled the rest out to 75, and I was done. And then, it comes back down to this level, and Han's like, I'm back in at 70. And I was like, what? I went and looked at the chart, and it was way up here. And I was like, oh, my God. If I could have just, held. Because even as it came back down, it was still around 70, 65 or whatever. I still would have been either break even or, slightly profitable. So again, if you got one or two contracts you're letting in to let slide, just wait till they stop you out. I mean, it's very possible that it could have right here. And I would have, obviously lost in that situation, but damn. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? What a beautiful move. I was actually looking at September 3rd. I did mention that specifically in chat. Because... these, you can see how, these banked for sure, right? But you're talking about a really small size. You had to buy like 20, 30 contracts or whatever at that point. And it was easier for me to stick to my usual size of 10 or, whatever, and kind of assess that. Also, the volume on these was a lot better than it was on the this week's, for obvious reasons. But yeah, that was it. That was all the morning bell plays of the last 3 days. I think all in all, I went 4 for 4 on these. I ended up giving some back. No. I think my, you know what it was? My Boeing vertical. I'll show you that really fast. My Boeing vertical, I was in 5 of them, and I took 3 off because, verticals, the idea is, or like the vertical strategy that, I've talked about. The idea is that you want to see price break the high of the previous day, which is what the divergence candle says. It's going to create a higher high, and it sure did. So as soon as it broke over this level, I was talking about it in chat. I ended up selling 3, and I had 2 left, and I was feeling good. I think I was up 30%. And then this happened, right? This was around the time that SPY did its absolute nosedive. And, no, it was crazy. It's crazy. I hadn't seen a SPY sell-off like that in a good while. It was, almost like a Fed talk or something, but it was kind of chaotic. Either way, I ended up getting stopped out break even on these, so I was a little bit bummed about that. But that was my only, like, quote-unquote loser. So 4 for 4 here. I think I went 3 for 3 here. I ended up taking a loser here, so 3 wins, 1 loss there. So all in all, the last 3 days have been really, really doing well. They've been really strong days. Hopefully we can, continue that energy later into the week. Now, if you are struggling to figure out, like, your entries and exits are giving you grief, or you're finding that you're managing to lose on what feels like everybody else is winning, like, those things are, not uncommon and not unfixable. So if you have any questions or concerns about something like that, feel free to reach out anytime. That's what the room is for. DM me. We'll talk about your entries, exits, ideas, all that kind of stuff. I'm here to help in any way I can. So without further ado, I think that's going to be it. And I will see you guys in the morning. I think I'm going to go to bed early tonight. But feel free to, tag me or whatever. And if I don't get to it tonight, I will in the morning. So see you then.